So have a pleasant day, everyone, especially to our beloved instructor, Ms. R.K. Espinido. So, here in this video, we're gonna talk all about the causes of conflict or the other causes of conflict. But first, let me give the meaning or definition of a conflict. So conflict is a strong disagreement or collision of values, interests, or intentions among individuals, groups, organization, of course, communities, and even the nations. And yeah, conflict is very rare and common to our society. So it comes from the Latin word conflictus, around early 15th century. So com means together and fligere means to strike. Now let's move forward for the other causes of conflict. Here are some causes of conflict. So first is misunderstanding, misconception, and miscommunication. Second, gaps between expectation and results. Incompatibility of ideas, opinions, and beliefs. Incompatibility of values and practices. Competition over material resource, desire for revenge, need for attention and appreciation, and unacceptable attitudes and behaviors. So, in misunderstanding, misconception, and miscommunication are common, especially to us. And in this case, conflict may arise when there is a mistake in one's comprehension of an intention or when there is incorrect interpretation of another statement or actions. Conflicts may also arise when there is a failure to transmit ideas or intention successfully. So, in this case, we really know that misunderstanding are common, especially when you speak to other people. So when you speak or when you tell your feelings, your side, whatever, maybe some of the people who listen to you will not understand totally or totally not understand what you want to emphasize, what you want to be able to understand. And yeah, in misconception, you thought, or like for example, you thought that your ideas towards that opinion of others is valid, but it's not. So in miscommunication, you have lack of communication. You didn't talk, you didn't share ideas, opinions, and didn't even know what are those things you like, you dislike, or they don't like, etc. So according to Bob Dylan, a mistake is to commit a misunderstanding. So now, let's move forward to the gaps between expectations and results. And yeah, this is a very common, especially to those students or to those who have a roommates or planning to have a roommates, or yeah, that's it. So conflict may arise when what is hoped for is not delivered or what is being anticipated did not materialize. So for example, if you have your roommate and then you really expect that maglilinis siya ng bahay or maglilinis siya ng kwarto, pero unfortunately hindi niya nagawa kasi nga nag-expect ka, and then yung result is hindi niya na ibigay. So here, let's move forward to the incompatibility of ideas, opinions, and beliefs. So conflict may arise when someone's ideas, beliefs, and opinions are contrary or opposed to another. So if there's someone suggesting, or like for example, hindi mo nakuha yung idea na gusto mong matumbok niya, so that may lead into a conflict. O kung hindi naman, hindi niya ma-catch up yung gusto mong iparating. So, we are now in incompatibility of values and practice. So, let's take this video as an example for incompatibility of values and practices. As we can see, these videos show how every individual acts according to their beliefs and practices. If one of them will not obey or disregard of what our others' cultures are, or even their beliefs and practices, they might have a quarrel, and sa nakasanayan na magkakagulo sila, and therefore, if there is or there are differences in each of us, we should respect and share the same aspects that we have, or the same thought that we have as they want us to do for the peaceful society. So let's move to the competition over material resource. So this conflict may arise when parties want to own or control the same material resource. So for instance, if you have your own thing, or if you have that thing which is wala naman siya, but then gustong-gusto niyang agawin sa'yo, so can really lead you into misunderstanding or to have a conflict, or magkakaroon kayo ng problema dalawa kasi inangkin niyo yung hindi sa kanya. So now we are here into the desire for revenge or the desire for retaliation. So this conflict may really arise if there's someone or you yourself want to retaliate towards your opponent. So like for example, nagkaroon kayo ng hindi pagkakaunawaan, and then naging away nyo, and then akala ng isang party na okay na kayo, but then kasi hindi mo binigyan ng action, or walang reciprocate yung action na ginawa mo. So misunderstood niya na okay na kayo, pero you into yourself meron kang plano na maghiganti. You have a plan to retaliate, and retaliation or revenge may cause a conflict sa kapwa-tao mo. Last but not the least is the unacceptable attitudes and behaviors. So we have lots of attitudes, we have lots or many behaviors that others didn't know yet. Of course, kasi sa buhay natin, hindi tayo masyadong showy. Depende na lang yun kung hindi ka talaga plastic na pagkatao and hindi ka introvert. Kasi kadalasan sa mga introvert, hindi natin alam kung ano yung totoong siya. So, kadalasan sa mga tatahimik or kadalasan sa mga taong tahimik lang, ay hindi talaga natin alam kung ano yung mga attitudes nila. So, we have the arrogance and coercion, intolerance, self-centeredness and pride, meddling, lying and cheating, nagging, defamation, or character assassination. So, what do you think will be the meaning of arrogance and coercion? So, arrogance refers to the sense of one's own importance that shows itself in a proud and insulting way. So, masyado silang merong self-confidence na sumobra na. Hindi na siya self-confidence na katamtaman lang. So, coercion means the use of express or implied threats of violence or reprisal or other intimidating behavior that puts a person in an immediate fear of the consequences in order to compel that person to act against his or her will. So, let's move to the intolerance. So, intolerance is the unwillingness to accept views, beliefs, or behaviors that differ from one's own. So, we are now here in the self-centeredness and pride. Of course, this is so very known to us. And it means that self-centeredness is a single-minded focus on oneself and one's own needs, desires, preferences, and the problems. So pride, on the other hand, is a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfactions that derive from one's own achievements. So the next is meddling. Meddling refers to as the interfere in something that's not your concern. It is also comes from the root word which means to mix. So guess what's the next? The next one is the lying and cheating. So this is common in different ways. So lying and cheating means to tell lie is to tell a falsehood, to say something that you know is not true. And meanwhile, cheating or to cheat is to win through dishonest means. Next is nagging or nagging. So, nagging means the persistently annoying or finding fault with someone. And it is also a constant harassing someone to do something. So, the last one is defamation. Defamation or the character assassination. So, it is an intentional attempt to spoil the reputation of a person by criticizing them severely. So especially, it is unfair or unfairly criticism, and in the newspaper or in the television. It is also a deliberate and sustained effort to damage reputation or credibility of an individual. So since we are done tackling all about the difference or different kinds of unacceptable behavior, let's move forward on how to deal with personal and structural dimensions of conflict. So dealing with the personal and structural dimensions of conflict, we should consider the two factors of it. So first, we have tolerance, and the second one is the non-violent direct action. So dealing with personal and structural dimension of conflict means addressing the internal and external factors that contribute to the conflict. So personal dimensions of conflict refer to the individuals involved and their emotions, perceptions, and behaviors as well. Structural dimensions of a conflict refers to the external factors such as policies, procedures, systems, etc. that contribute to the conflict. So let's move forward to the non-violent direction action. So the non-violent action refers to the efforts to persuade with action via methods of protest, non-cooperation, and intervention without using physical violence. Hindi ka gagamit ng karate, hindi mo gagamitin yung earnest na mga steps mo dyan na nalalaman. So, just a form of rallies, something like that. So, that is a non-violent direct action. A non-violent direct actions seeks to create a situation that would liberate victims from silence and helplessness. This was evident, for instance, in Chile, where people for years suffered in silence. Non-violent direct action allowed them all, men, women, and children, to participate in efforts to overthrow a dictatorial regime. So the non-violent direct action also seeks to gain attention and consequently support from the larger community. People from around the world, for instance, were bothered to see Hindus whipped to the ground by the army serving the British government without the former hitting back. So protests from the world community hastened the granting of independence by the British government to India. So Gene Sharp, in the year 2025, has already identified 198 methods of non-violent actions. So here are some examples of the said methods. Number one, or the first one, is the non-violent protest persuasion. And the number two is a non-violent non-cooperation. And the last one is a non-violent intervention. So when we are talking all about the non-violent protest and persuasion, it seeks to produce awareness of the dissent, such as petitions, banners, posters, lobbying, prayer, rallies, vigils, etc. So when we talk all about the non-violent non-cooperation, it presents the opponent difficulties in maintaining the normal operation of the system. For example, consumers boycott, general strike, and the civil disobedience. So the last one is the non-violent intervention. It challenges the opponents more directly. So at the end of all of that goals of a non-violent struggle, it was already changed. So Gene Sharp has identified 4 mechanisms of change. So here are the 4 mechanisms of change. Number 1, or the first one, is the conversion. Number 2 is the accommodation. And number 3 is the non-violent coercion. And number 4 is the so-called disintegration. So when we say about conversion, it refers to the opponent comes around to a new point of view which embraces the end of the non-violent actionists. So when we talk all about the accommodation as well, it talks that the opponent is not converted but has concluded that it is best to agree on some or all of the demands. So, moving forward, the non-violent coercion means the opponent wants to continue with the struggle but is unable to do so because the source of his power have been removed. So, the last one is the disintegration. So, disintegration refers to the opponent's power has been simply dissolved. So, the next factor is tolerance. Tolerance is a respect, acceptance, and appreciation of the rich diversity of cultures and various forms of human expressions. And it is a foundation of democracy and human rights. Education for tolerance aims to counter influences that lead to fear, aversion towards, and exclusion of others. Tolerance recognizes that others have the right to be who they are. So why we should teach tolerance? So according to UNESCO, education is the most effective means of preventing intolerance. So there is a need for schools to educate citizens who are appreciative of other cultures, respectful of human dignity and differences, and able to prevent or resolve conflicts amicably. So let's move on or go to the application on how to teach tolerance. So first, you must examine your own biases. So in examining your own biases, you should ask yourself, like for instance, inside the classroom, do you give more favorable attention to students who are physically or socio-economically advantaged? Let us reflect on it. So second one is you should use inclusive and or non-discriminating language, as language shape consciousness. So yeah, that's right. So using words or phrases that can help boost others, or that can help boost confidence for others who are really afraid or ashamed to, or who have lack of confidence. Those inclusive, non-discriminating languages or language, this might this will let them aware of what are those things that their strengths. For instance, use human instead of man. Use the word blacks instead of negros or negros or negros. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Elderly instead of old or old men or women, whatever, and heavy instead of fat. The next one is we should give appropriate attention and treat each student fairly regardless of sex or socio-economic status, among others. So yeah, we should do it. We should not base upon of who are they, whether they are rich or poor. Don't do that. And yeah, examining yourself if you are inclined to give more compliments to those who are more physically attractive and so on. So dapat maging aware tayo kung sino yung mga binibigyan natin ng mga magagandang comment. So next is highlight the thought that diversity is enriching. So yes, differences should be celebrated, not scorned. As we learned a lot of new things from one another, an analogy would be the fruit salad, which is so delicious even if it is made up of different fruits that come in various flavors and colors. Of course, although we humans have different colors, different facial features, iba-iba man ang itsura natin, iba-iba man ang tangkad natin, may iba matangkad, may iba naman na hindi masyadong katangkaran, we should still respect. The next is, let us show a variety of racial and physical features in our teaching aids as well as in our classroom decoration. So these are common to the elementary teachers. Yeah, we can see these decorations or caricatures or illustrations in the classroom of elementary teachers. Even some of them are in high school, but merely in elementary. So next is know where our students are. So we should be aware of what our students are, of who our students are, and allow them to reflect on their views about differences. Of course, our students like elementary, or it's common if we are teaching in a high school, for instance, they are aware na iba-iba talaga ang physical features, body figures, etc., attitudes, behaviors ng bawat tao. So yun. So how to learn tolerance? So here are some insights offered by Esther La Rosa and Bettman year 2000 and by the Teaching Tolerance Project of the year 1991 that they can reflect by writing their thought after each statement. So first, it is not fair to form an opinion based on what we see. So that's right. The color of one's skin has nothing to do with what is in our hearts or what is in one's heart. The second one is, it is okay to make friends based upon legitimate standards, but not on characteristics over which a person has no control. Like, for instance, can someone change the color of his or her skin? Or does the texture of hair, for example, have anything to do with being a good friend? Of course, no. So for me. So the third one is, it is important to see people as individuals rather than as members of an offending group. That's right. So the last one is healthy self-concepts that can neither be developed nor sustained through the devaluation of others. So in conclusion, we already know that there are many different types of conflict, including interpersonal, interpersonal, and intergroup. It can be arise from various sources such as organizational structures, limitations or resources, task interdependence, goal incompatibility, personality differences, and communication challenges. So the root causes of conflict include structural, social, ethnic, regional, and economic cleavages, and inequity in access to social services, and of course the employment in a context of extreme poverty and concentration of power. The cumulative legacy of violence, impunity, and failed governance and political institutions. So it is important to understand that conflict may lead from minor annoyances to physically violent situations. In addition, conflict can increase creativity and innovation, or it can bring organizations to a grinding halt. That is why we should learn and teach how to deal with different conflicts in real life situations.